Right, so welcome, Archie, officially to the Zoom room for another live session. So let's dive in, shall we, to today's quote. Always a good place to start. So I'm going to share my screen if you can read the quote for us. This one's from Edward Kennedy today. Yeah, Senator Edward Kennedy, interestingly. Shows you truth can come from any person.
Mm.
Kennedy's one interesting. So John F. Kennedy certainly had something about him. There was some inspiration
Yeah.
that was coming through there. And
And also, I mean, all the Kennedy brothers, even Robert as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because he was going to be the
Yeah.
next president until they,
Was.
they shot
Yeah.
him as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it seems like the world, anyone who's really inspired and is actually got a bit of leadership and vision about them just
Mm.
gets
Yeah. I
taken
know.
out.
Just get exactly. I know.
So,
Even his son, Robert Kennedy Jr. at the moment, he was very outspoken during the pandemic, for example. You know,
well,
and yeah, and he's an environmental lawyer. So. Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
I wonder if he's going to go for president at some point. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to be. I certainly wouldn't want to be president of the US. I can't think of
No.
it. Probably the worst job to have. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, each to his own, I suppose. Marianne Williamson. Interesting that she
Oh
was.
yeah, she ran twice in
Yeah,
2020 and
yeah. Maybe just to
24.
sort of make a point, but
Yeah.
she wasn't going to get elected. She's too fringe, I think.
Yeah.
But
I know, but
maybe
it's
she just.
great though. I really admire her for
Yeah, well, give it a
yeah.
go. And I think it's more
Yeah,
just like making a statement and saying, well,
absolutely. Yeah.
there needs to be some change, clearly,
Yeah.
given the current president.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my goodness, how
I
much
know.
worse that can you
Yeah.
can get? It's probably going to be the go down as
Yeah.
one of the worst ever
Yeah.
uh, presidents. I mean, they've had some pretty poor ones. Remember the Bushes? Oh my goodness,
Yes.
they were not clever, smart, especially
No.
the
No,
junior guy.
especially Junior. Yeah.
Junior. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, hang on. So you've got like, this is the world's most powerful country. You've got some of the brightest people in the world, and you do
Yeah.
this, like this person
I know. I know.
as
That's
your your leader. I mean, just crazy. Like what?
yeah.
But that's how politics works. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
the best, brightest. It's the ones with the most influence and
And the
power.
most money. We are the ones
Yeah,
that can
money,
afford to put a
power,
campaign
influence,
together. Yeah. Mm.
etc.
Yeah,
And who will do the bidding of powerful people
exactly. Yeah.
who put them there. That's how it
Yeah.
goes. It's like
Yeah.
they're actually not really in charge.
No.
They're the ones who got put there by people who then have a vested interest.
Yeah.
When the whole system is fraught with corruption.
It is.
Anyway, on
Yeah.
a more positive note, let's read about unity from Edward Kennedy.
Yes. So, what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us.
Yeah, so part of the Kennedy clan, brother of John F. and Robert, Senator Edward Kennedy, reminds us of the truth that the principle of unity based on perfect oneness or love is far more powerful than the idea of division based on separation. Yeah, that could be a spiritual teacher saying that
Mm. Yeah.
rather than a senator. So it just shows you that the truth can come through any channel.
Yeah.
It's universal, and just because someone is a senator in a political system, actually, it doesn't mean he's enlightened, but there's an awareness, there's an openness
Mm.
to the truth, and he's expressed it.
Yeah.
Divides us pales in comparison to what unites us, and that's actually it's really true. Apparently,
Yeah.
division, seems to be quite powerful in this world. But if you really think about how life works, without connection, without love, without trust, without relationships, nothing would really happen. Nothing would
Mm.
work.
Mm.
Just the fact that human society is a network of relationships,
Yeah.
and it only works because of relationship and because of a degree of trust
Mm.
between seemingly different people,
Mm.
is evidence of this. What divides us, it actually is not nearly as powerful as what unites us. But you can get confused because the idea of separation it gets overblown and can seem to be very big and very powerful and scary. But it's not nearly as powerful as this underlying force of unity that's behind every relationship, that's behind every business deal, that's behind um, every interaction. If you're talking to another human being, which is happening all the time, all day, every day, right now, the principle of unity is there, right? There's a connection. Otherwise, if there was no unity, it just wouldn't be possible to have a relationship and to connect, to share. So that's evidence that total separation is impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot totally separate from anyone or anything. There's always going to be a connection, no matter how hard you try and sever it.
Mm.
So then, logically, one of those ideas must be true and one must be false.
Mm.
Separation denies unity, unity denies separation. Which is true? Well, this quote saying, look at the evidence. Actually, it's obvious. What divides us, separation, pales in comparison to what unites us. Underlying, I mean, another way of looking at saying, well, we all share the same planet, we share the same air, we share the same water.
Mm.
So, that's unity. We're all in the same boat.
Mm.
This underlying principle of unity is fundamental. You cannot undo that,
Mm.
but you can undo the idea of separation.
Mm.
Consider life without separation, and it would still go on. In fact, it would be a lot better than it currently is. So one of them is true, one of them is false, and it's not difficult to see which one's which. This is why we do all the mind training exercises and all the lessons in the Art of Letting Go program, because it's about taking this idea and what Yeshua calls full transfer of training is applying it to every aspect of your life.
Mm.
So the principles are all good and all well, but do you live that in every aspect of your life? And probably what you're going to find is that there are areas where separation still has a hold.
Mm.
And this is the transfer of training needs to go into all those areas and undo that hold of separation. So ultimately, you accept that only union is true, and that is fully transferred into every area of your life, so that you're consistently happier, you're more in flow, you're more peaceful, you're more loving in every aspect of your life. So we talked in our expression about the different aspects of life, so diet and exercise and breathing and financial and relationships, all these things. All of those things really have to be in alignment to have a truly holistic, rounded, balanced life. You have to transfer this idea of unity into every area. If one area is still under the governance of separation, then there are going to be problems in that area, and that's going to affect the rest of it. A bit like a cancer cell, or else, oh well, it's just one little cancer cell, it's fine. But if you allow that to grow, it's going to fester and grow, and ultimately it's going to consume all the healthy cells. So you've got to deal with it, sort it out. So that's really what the mind training is in this program, is to take this simple idea of unity and apply it without exception to every aspect of your life, so that you're genuinely, authentically happier, more in flow, more peaceful, more loving, and that translates into every area of your life. And that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why it's 1 year, and after a year, most people carry on because saying, well, have I really mastered it all? But probably not. You can keep going for many, many, many years, and still not say, fully mastered it. And like I've got everything sorted. It's an ongoing process and it's a journey. And that's the most helpful way of looking at it. I'm on a journey, it's a process. And as long as I'm doing it and I'm in my process, then that's fine. I'm on my journey and I'm doing it.
Mm.
When you step off the journey and you refuse to do it, that then the ego is back in charge and it's actively blocking this. But as long as you're doing the work and you're going at your own pace, which you mentioned, it's
Yeah.
fine. You've got time, the rest of your life. In fact, you've got all of time. So even if you don't get it in this lifetime, you come in another one, and what you learned in this one is isn't lost.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of time. Just going to put my phone on mute. I think it might die just now. I've got 1% battery. It is plugged in, but anyway, let's see how we go. So yeah, that leads us quite nicely into our lesson. There is we read this yesterday, so we have to go through it again. Just the importance of reviews. He talks about reviewing quite a lot in the course. These are some quotes that mention it. That say, again, reviewing is part of studying correctly.
Mm.
So it's important that we do the reviews, and I've found them really, really useful.
Yeah.
To have these 5 in a row, and then I love the way he summarized it in one paragraph. It's wonderfully succinct.
Mm.
It's not not a lot to read, but each sentence is power packed. There's nothing wasted.
Mm.
All right. So shall we dive into the lesson then? So shall I read the I'll read the original. You read the alternative.
Okay.
So I have no neutral thoughts.
Yeah. I have no neutral thoughts.
Neutral thoughts is actually to translate here. Not really. Yeah, a couple. Like seeing becomes perceived.
Mm.
Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power.
Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power.
They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one.
They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one.
But thoughts cannot be without effects.
But thoughts cannot be without effects.
As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world rise before my eyes, as I let my errors be corrected.
As the world I perceive arises from my thinking errors, so the real world will arise in my perception as I let my errors be corrected.
My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false.
My thoughts can only be true or false.
They must be one or the other.
They must be one or the other.
What I see shows me which they are.
What I perceive shows me which they are.
So the main translation is see becomes perceive.
Mm.
It's a broader, I'm not just seeing with my eyes, I'm perceiving this world with all of my senses, and that includes my interpretation of it. Perception has implicit in it the interpretation of the sensory data that's coming in from the external world. Okay, so just read it from the top in the alternative.
I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I perceive arises from my thinking errors, so the real world will arise in my perception as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts can only be true or false. They must be one or the other. What I perceive shows me which they are.
So thoughts on that? What's he saying there?
Yeah, so so there are no neutral thoughts. They're either true or false. And how you perceive them shows whether, shows whether they are true or false.
Yeah, the real world is this world that arises from true perception. So we
Yeah,
talked about the many worlds theory in quantum physics. This
yeah,
is the world you're now choosing to perceive that is reinterpreted from the correct thought system.
yeah,
And you start to experience that reality. By choosing it, you experience a
mm,
different reality, a different world,
yeah,
compared with someone who's choosing separation as their filter. And these are vastly, completely different worlds.
yeah,
Really, massively different. Someone's experience, if they locked in separation, their experience of life is going to be radically different from someone who's awakened to oneness.
mm,
Very, very remarkably different. They may as well be on different planets, which is why there's so much friction. They just don't see eye to eye. They don't see the world in the same way. They don't perceive it in the same way.
yeah,
Everything is opposite and different. And that's the fundamental conflict in the world. It's
mm,
between those two thought systems, those two ways of perceiving. And I think that most helpful way of looking at it is not as good or evil, but as two alternative opposite thought systems.
yeah,
One of them works, one of them doesn't. So you've got to choose between them. You can't mix and match and do a bit of both because they contradict each other.
yeah,
So this is really just training us to choose correctly, realizing that it's one or the other. So there's really nothing in between. Every thought is part of one thought system or
mm,
another.
mm,
Even minor thoughts. Now you might say, well, how is going to get a cup of coffee or something not a neutral thought?
yeah,
But it's a thought of subject object duality. You're like, oh, I really need my coffee. Then there's an orientation there towards the ego. If you have your cup of coffee but there's no attachment to it, then that's also not a neutral thought. You've let go of attachment. You enjoy the experience of the coffee, but easy come, easy go.
mm,
Not so either way, whichever way you have that cup of coffee, it's not neutral. You're deciding for one, even if you drink the same cup of coffee, you're deciding in the moment. Your perception of it is going to be one way or another, oriented towards one thought system or another. So you're always choosing. Every moment we're choosing. That's a big theme in the course. You are choosing your thought system and you're choosing your reality every moment. The idea is to become conscious of that choice.
yeah,
So this is not happening unconsciously, but you
yeah,
consciously aware, and that you then make better choices. You start making conscious, correct choices. Say, oh no, no, I'm going to choose that because that is the correct choice that resonates, that feels right. I know that that's in alignment with what I really want, which is unity rather than separation. Um, you'll experience a lot of vacillation, a lot of resistance at the beginning because
mm,
the ego has its own mindset and you've got various habits that maybe you've done by default for years, which are coming out of separation.
mm,
So now what you've got to start doing is questioning all of that
mm,
and saying, okay, so is that really helpful? As Jesus says, you've got to question every single value that you hold.
yeah,
That's what this course requires.
yeah,
Every value, every belief, every habit, look at it all honestly and go, which thought system is this coming from?
mm,
And by doing that, if you're really honest, you can very quickly clean up your life because it
yeah,
becomes obvious which one it's aligned to. The results will generally tell you straight away. If there's dysfunction, then it's going to be coming out of separation,
yeah,
and if it's working, then it's going to be coming out of unity.
mm,
So not difficult to really tell them apart. It's
mm,
kind of amazing that we struggle so much
mm,
to tell them apart. But this is the confusion that the ego has caused in our minds. It doesn't want us to see clearly. So its best defense is to confuse us and make sure that we don't see the situation clearly and
mm,
have this kind of keen insight. Because if we really see clearly, you're going to make the correct choice. You're going to choose for the Holy Spirit and against the ego. So it's very dead set against this kind of teaching, this kind of clarity, clearing up your mind, learning to see things with discernment, learning to make, choice. Doesn't want any of that, just wants chaos and confusion.
Yeah.
And it will try and dress that up in some kind of attractive way.
Mm.
But if you're really honest and you see what it's up to, you're like, it's chaos. There's no real clarity. There's no logic. It's just trying to keep you in a muddle.
Mm.
And if you're in a muddle, then you're not going to make clear choices and decisions.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the majority of people live their lives, in a muddle. They're
Yeah.
just muddling through their lives and trying
Yeah.
to figure it all out and vacillating, one to the other. And that's quite wearying. And they age quite quickly, and then eventually they die. It's all
Mm.
a bit kind of pointless, really. If you're not awakening, the only thing
Yeah.
that gives it any meaning is that you're actually using it to wake up to who you really are.
Yeah.
Then your life has a real purpose, and there's something of meaning actually happening. But if you don't have that, what meaning can you perceive in it?
Mm.
How can the external world give you a meaning that transcends that? We try, many people have tried, but they've never succeeded, because in the end, whatever meaning you create in the world is going to fade away, and it's not going to be there at some point. Everything fades away and dies. So how can you say that has any real valid meaning there?
Mm.
It clearly doesn't. Every experience here comes and goes. Every person dies. Every animal you love, even shorter lived, 10 years, and then they go on. So, like, why do we give so much value to these things
Mm.
when they're so short lived, relatively? But we do it over and over and over again, because there's a part of us that's still attached to the illusion.
Mm.
One wants to carry it on. The ego just wants to carry on the game, wants to carry on existing in and through your mind and through your life. So it's like a parasite that it needs a host.
Mm.
And this kind of mind training is what gets rid of the parasite, clears
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
All right. So I see no neutral things. You want
Mm.
to switch it? You want to read the original? I'll
Yep.
read the alternative.
So I see no neutral things. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I perceive no neutral things. Again, I've changed seeing to
Yeah.
perceiving to make it a bit more expansive.
Mm. What I see witnesses to what I think.
What I perceive witnesses to what I think.
If I did not think, I would not exist.
Yeah, and then it carries on
Oh,
because life
sorry.
is
Yeah, if I did, sorry, I thought that was a full stop. If I did not think, I would not exist because life is thought.
If I did not think, I would not exist, because life, again, capital life, is the foundational awareness that makes thought possible.
Mm.
So I've just kind of clarified that. Hopefully that
Yeah.
expands and explains it a bit. That awareness makes thought possible.
Mm.
But life isn't, that fundamental awareness is beyond thought. You're saying in life is thought, but again, just if you dig deeper into it, and you look at it in context of the whole course's message and the perennial philosophy, there
Mm.
is an awareness that
Mm.
makes thought possible, but that awareness is beyond thought. It's not subject object thought.
Yeah.
When you're in that awareness, there's no I and something else, and no dualistic thought is possible in that awareness.
Mm.
So maybe, if this was written as, you see where the capitalization is important, because
Yeah.
capital life is capital thought. Now
Yeah.
you're like, okay, so this is elevated thought. And he does do that at some points in the course, really pointing to another kind of thought,
Mm.
another kind of awareness again. I like to translate it as awareness, just so we're clear. Because thought, as we think of thought, is well, I'm thinking about tomorrow, I'm thinking about yesterday, I'm thinking about what I've got to do now, I'm
Mm.
thinking about a situation, I'm thinking about a person,
Mm.
I'm thinking about what I'm going to have to eat, the chores I've got to do, blah 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 blah. That's what we think of as thought.
Yeah.
When he says life is thought, he doesn't mean that kind of thought.
Yeah.
but it's with a small t, so it's very easy to get kind of muddled up and confused.
Mm.
So hence the translation says it's the foundational awareness that makes thought possible.
Mm.
Without that awareness, thought would not be possible. Even though that thought might be dualistic and is seemingly split off from that awareness, without fundamental awareness, there would be no thought. I think that's a fairly obvious logical statement,
Mm.
which means that the ego is happening within an awareness that ultimately contradicts it, which means that it can never really find any rest or security because it's thinking, but it's thinking against the very awareness that allows it to even think, even have any kind of existence.
Mm.
And you can see why it's such a precarious entity because it's trying to have an existence within a much greater awareness that it's now set itself against, but it
Mm.
depends on that very awareness for its
Mm.
existence. Like a very crazy position to be in, which is why the ego is fundamentally unstable, uncertain, distrustful. It's always going to be uneasy about, like, do I even really exist? I think I exist, but do I really? This is the metaphysical crisis that it's constantly in, and then it tries to justify its existence by perceiving things in a certain way and saying, well, no, that's not true. It locks onto typically the world and a certain perception, and then that perpetuates its belief about the world and about you, and it says that's real. That's all now reality. But it's the house built on sand. It's a very precarious construction because if you really challenge that and really dig into that, it doesn't really stack up. It doesn't sustain. It will fall apart under scrutiny.
Mm.
And then the people who have built their house on the sand, their only option is to defend. They just try and defend against the apparent attack of truth, usually by attacking those who they perceive as now attacking them. And we've
Mm.
seen that throughout history. They just try and take people out and murder people and so on because they don't want to know the truth that those people are speaking. All right. So where were we? I choose to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let me look on the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind.
So I choose to perceive the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind.
I know that my state of mind can change,
I know that my state of mind can change,
and so I also know the world I see can change as well.
and so I also know the world I perceive can change as well. Okay, and then do you want to read in the alternative
Hmm.
just to summarize it?
Yeah, I perceive no neutral things. What I perceive witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist, because life is the foundational awareness that makes thought possible. I choose to perceive the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change, and so I also know the world I perceive can change as well.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Hmm. Sorry, it's just disappeared.
Yeah, yeah. I just sorry, I need to just my phone just died, so I'm gonna try and record it somewhere else. I should probably do it on another audio setup. Let's do it on there, shall we? Okay. So this is really saying, it's an extension of yesterday's quote. We must become the change we see in the world.
Mm.
You can change your mind, and so your world, which is a projection of thought, can change as well.
Mm.
Because you see no neutral things, you perceive no neutral things. You can change your mind, and you can perceive everything differently from uh, a positive perspective rather than a negative one based on separation. And that is always a choice available no matter what is happening. It's not the situation that's the problem, it's your perception of the situation that's the problem. That is an absolutely key insight in this course and in any great spiritual teacher. They're all saying the same thing. That it's your perception that's the problem, not the situation itself. So just going over some fundamentals. Just one moment. I'm just going to get some water because I've got in my throat. And all right. So happy to go to number 3. All right, switch it again. I'll read the original. I am not alone experiencing the effects of my seeing.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my perception.
If I have no private thoughts, I cannot see a private world.
If I have no private thoughts, I cannot perceive a private world.
Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could form the basis of the world I see.
Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could become the foundation of the world I perceive.
Yet that sharing was a sharing of nothing.
Yet this sharing was a sharing of nothing.
I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone.
I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone.
As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them.
As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them.
And the world my real thoughts show me will dawn on their sight as well as mine.
And the world my real thoughts show me will be revealed to all of us.
And then from the top, an alternative.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my perception. If I have no private thoughts, I cannot perceive a private world. Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could become the foundation of the world I perceive. Yet this sharing was a sharing of nothing. I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. And the world my real thoughts show me will be revealed to all of us.
Yeah, so what's the key point there? He's saying,
Is it back to again, I have to say, I find that whole thing really confusing because there's too many,
okay.
especially that last, as my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them, and the world my real thoughts show me will be revealed to all of us. Yeah, sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, well, it challenges one of those. The language is
Yeah.
different. The ideas are different. What he's saying is actually really simple.
Yeah.
Your life is thoughts. Your thoughts create your reality. So you think differently, then you live in a different world, and you're not alone in experiencing the effects of that.
Yeah.
You share that perception with others, just by default. Your mere presence in a room, in a conversation, in any relationship, whatever, is you sharing the effects of your perception immediately. It's good.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
automatic transfer of energy.
Yeah. I get that that you don't have like all thoughts, that there are no private thoughts, everything that you think is shared. Um,
Yeah, because there isn't really such a thing as a private mind. There's no separate
yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So whatever you're thinking is actually thought within this whole container of the thought system within which you're thinking it. So
Yeah.
you thinking in separation, that's part of the thought system of separation. It's been
Yeah.
thought by a mind that is now split off from its true awareness.
Yeah.
So it's connected. It's part of a massive, gigantic thought system which is happening all the time. The scale of it is phenomenal. You think about 8 billion people, and then
Mm.
you've got all the other sentient beings on the planet, and then never mind, the whole universe. Uh, so this is going on all the time in this kind of alternative parallel universe. The ideas of separation, private thoughts, all that's happening, but it's all happening within one thought system, within one universal mind, if you like. So if you want to look at this diagram again, this is the top level domain of the ego or consciousness, as the Course calls it, or in many New Age teachings, they call it universal mind.
Mm.
It's the belief in separation. It's Satan. The Gnostics called it the demiurge.
Yeah.
Everything you think, if you're thinking in separation terms from a separate self, then it is part of that thought system, and it's not
Yeah.
separate. It just
Yeah.
becomes part of the thought system of separation and part of the problem.
Yeah.
So this is why there are no neutral thoughts. You're either thinking for God or against God. So it's always going to be one or the other. Separation is against, and letting go and forgiveness are for
Yeah.
that awareness. And there's a very clear distinction and a very clear choice. Whatever you're thinking consistently, you then strengthen and perpetuate that. So you share that with everyone automatically,
Yeah.
whether you interact
But
with them or not.
but
Just
then
on a
there
mind
was
level, that's being shared in this mind.
yeah, but then
Um,
there was a sentence that said about sharing of nothing, of no thing. Yet the
yeah,
sharing yet the sharing was a sharing of nothing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So this becomes the foundation. The mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could become the foundation of the world I perceive. So that tiny mad idea of separation
mm,
had to be believed in by this new entity, consciousness, ego, which then we all share, right? That's at this point there were no separate entities.
yeah.
At the very top level of the ego, there was one idea of separation
Mm,
from source, and but then that idea has to fragment because that's its fundamental principle, separation. So it has to fragment and fragment and fragment again, and separate again, which is exactly what's happened. Right? You
yeah.
go down the ladder, you see how that fragmentation has happened, and then it gets put into form, and now we have trillions and trillions of different forms.
Mm,
Something like 280 million insects in every square mile in the
mm,
UK
mm,
of any kind of nature. I don't know if that's the case in cities, but it's probably not far off because they're everywhere. So
mm,
there's these little seemingly separate entities all over the place, fragmenting, just trillions and trillions and trillions of them scattered around the world, around the universe, in these highly complex, sophisticated, separate forms of life. One
mm,
of which is the human form, and we think all of this is real, but it's really just a projection of the idea of separation. Bodies are the projection of separation now made manifest in separate bodies, and
mm,
apparently the mind has been split into these separate bodies. So we now have separate consciousnesses. Separate, my mind is separate from yours because I'm in a separate body. this is saying that's just not true. Your mind is still, even if you're thinking in separation, it's and you think you've got a private mind, it's still part of one thought system or another, right? If you're thinking thoughts of separation, then you're part of this mind.
Yeah.
But it's a sharing of nothing. There's nothing really going on here because separation isn't true. So you're sharing an illusion. You're sharing what's false, and everything that comes from that false idea must also be false. That's the simple logic. You can't create the true from the false. The ego's tried its hardest to convince us that's possible. So all of this, massive projection, the grand drama of the universe is the ego's attempt to try and convince us that it's true, and that separation is actually true, and it's real, and that this is now our real reality, and oneness is gone, oneness has been destroyed, which isn't true, but it makes a convincing case that it is true, because now we jack into the matrix as apparently separate forms in a little body, and we try and make our way in this world, which is pretty chaotic and threatening, given that it's based on the thought system of guilt and fear and attack. It seems to be very unstable, very threatening. There seems to be a lot of outside threat to our existence. There's limitation, there's lack, there's loneliness, there's suffering, there's death, and we try and find some kind of happiness in that as separate selves. And Yesha's saying, just give that up. That's never going to happen. You'll never find happiness as a separate self. You'll only find happiness when you relinquish your separate self and you let go of the entire thought system that birthed the separate self, because the separate self only came down the track, right? From the ego consciousness came the idea that I could be an individual self. Oh, individuality, that's a nice idea. And then the mind creates that and manifests that by projecting it out into a physical universe. And interesting, if you look at what they say in cosmology, apparently, if the rate of expansion had been 1/100,000th or 1/1,000,000th faster or slower in the first second after the Big Bang, none of this would have happened. It was perfectly calibrated for all of this to happen, which indicates that the mind had this intention to create this all along. We can't really conceive how that all works, but all Yeshua is saying to us is that it doesn't matter how brilliant you think this mind is to have created this whole physical universe, it's still insane, because the idea behind it is insane. And that just pulls the rug out from under the ego completely and deflates it. So a lot of people think that this is God. Oh, but look at all the amazing thing that's made up. It's so incredible. But hang on, if you really look carefully, it's very flawed. It's everything's going to fade away and die. Nothing lasts. There's a tremendous amount of drama, pain, suffering, sickness, death that goes on. So how can that be the creation of a loving God, of a loving source?
This is what I struggle with, though, because I kind of look at the interconnectedness of nature, for example, and there's so much. There is actually, well, in my perception, there's lots of beauty in nature, and so for me, I find it really difficult to sort of say that is, all of that has been created from the idea of separation.
What if you see beauty and it's genuine, beauty with a capital B, what you are seeing is beyond the ego, right? The interconnection, the unity, that is not of the ego, right? The form is of the ego. The bodies and a lot of behavior. I mean, nature can be incredibly cruel. We know that. So there is that really brutal separative side where things come into existence and they just get wiped out and they get killed, and one thing eats another, survival of the fittest, so on. So it's certainly not a bed of roses by any chance. It's a pretty cruel, brutal world. But within that, if you look beyond all of that, you can see love, you can see interconnectedness, you can see the principle of unity. that's not coming from the ego. That's truth. That's spirit.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that essence does not need form to exist.
Yeah.
Right. It seems to now manifest and exist in and through these forms. It's because they are still connected to their source. You can't ever separate from this pure awareness. It's still there in every sentient being.
Yeah.
That split is present in every sentient being. So every sentient being is capable of this. And there's some extraordinary things in nature. I mean, I've seen, videos of like a lion saving a deer and sharks saving a turtle. And I mean, whether this is made up or not, I mean, because AI can do a lot. But there are these often amazing occurrences where you see that there is love, and even in great white sharks.
But also, I do see the beauty on the physical form as well. Like there's some creatures are incredibly beautiful when you look at
but
them.
so the problem is they're not going to last, aren't you? They're all
Yeah.
going to die.
Yeah.
So if you value that, then it's very sad. Amazing, beautiful, credible, diverse, incredibly adapted to the environment, but it's all going to die. That form is not going to last, no matter how beautiful or amazing
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is.
But I accept that though. That's the thing, kind of,
But
doesn't mean that you can't appreciate it for what, I don't know. I'm just, yeah.
The problem is then you have to accept that death is real. And life and death contradict each other. Do you have eternal life, which means eternal means never ending. It doesn't, there can be no end to that. That's what eternal means. Do you have eternal life or do you have death? Because death means there's no eternal life, evidently. The one contradicts the other. So the problem with all form is it's perishable. It's impermanent. It comes and it goes. Some forms last a bit longer. Some can seem to be nicer, more beautiful, more functional. But in the end, it's going to die. So it's not eternal life. That form cannot then have come from eternal life. That form must have come from another consciousness that split off from eternal life and has sought to make its own version of life, which is now actually the opposite of eternal life. And then what you get in the end is death, because that's the opposite of life. I know it's not easy to get your head around this, but you have to be very, very honest with yourself and say, if it's not permanent, does it really have any value? It's all temporary. It's all going to fade away. It's a temporary manifestation, and there's always going to be a tinge of sadness. You look at anything really amazing, beautiful, and you go, amazing, beautiful, but I know it's not going to last in this world. As amazing it can be, I look at nature. I look at our dog. I mean, he's in his prime now. Deborah's dog, 5 years old, lovely dog, beautiful dog. He's really in his prime. He's having a great time. I'm going, yeah, but in 10 years he's probably going to be dead. It's not going to last. You know what I mean? So as amazing as that form is, it's tinged with sadness. And Gabriel even said, "Oh, well, when Ben dies, we'll put a little plaque on a tree for him." It's like, yeah, it's a given. That form is not going to last. That life is going to go. He's having a happy life, but it's a very short-lived life. It's 10 to 15 years. So there's a sadness there. This like, how can you attach permanent value and meaning to that? Because it's not going to be there always. In contrast to that, Yeshua's saying, look to this because this is always there. This will never fade away. It's never going to deplete. It's never going to decay, degrade. It's not corruptible. It's eternal. It's there forever. So surely that's a better choice than choosing form, as beautiful as it may be, which is doomed to die. And that's a choice we have to make. Everyone has to come to that realization and make that choice in their own mind. It's not something that can be forced on you, but like, how much do you want to suffer? The more you value form, the more you're going to suffer because it's not going to last. It's inevitable. So if you really love it and you're attached to it, then you're going to suffer when it goes.
Yeah, but I'm
That's
not though. I'm not attached to it in the sense that I know it's going to go. It
mm.
doesn't mean, I don't know, I guess I just appreciate it while it's here, but without being attached to it.
Well,
So,
that's good.
you know,
So if
but
you can appreciate the life essence
yeah,
in everything, that's really what we're after. It's not
yes,
about the
yeah,
form. It's not about the specifics of that particular person or animal or whatever it is. If it's organic, it's the essence that underlies it. If you
yeah,
can see that essence shining through in everything, then you're having that unity experience. It's unity consciousness. You're seeing oneness essence everywhere.
yeah,
And that's the state of enlightened awareness that all the masters have talked about.
mm.
But it's not specific to one thing, right? As soon as it becomes concentrated on one thing and you love that thing above others, then you get into trouble because
No,
you value in form.
I don't know. I guess nature for me, Jonathan, is one of my biggest, sort of how can I put it into words? I think an appreciation of nature and an appreciation of beauty. Uh, I just yeah, one of two of the things that just
Mm,
bring me immense joy, really.
mm,
Um, kind of, and I do when I look at nature, I'm always amazed. I'm in awe actually of nature. I think, wow, this is amazing. Kind of in the interconnectedness of yeah, I don't know. But it does. I have a sense of wonder about it,
mm,
but without being attached to it, but just this
mm,
sense of my word, this is it, it is incredible.
mm. So that life essence that permeates every sentient being, all of nature,
Yeah,
is is what's really inspiring and incredible,
yeah, it is.
amazing. And if
I
you
can't
if you can if you can see that, perceive that, connect with that, it connects you with your own life essence, and
yes,
that's why a lot of people
yeah,
feel energized and inspired and
exactly. That's why I choose
rejuvenated
to
when they
live
go
in
into
nature.
nature.
That's why I choose to live
Yeah,
where I do for that very
because you're closer to that life
yeah,
essence in nature. It
yeah,
doesn't have all of the thought that, let's say, human beings have.
yeah,
Um, we human beings have very dense thought system and structure,
yeah,
and that takes us away from the life essence into structures, concepts, dogmas,
mm,
falsehoods, and then we construct a world based on that. So you go into a city,
yeah,
it's being constructed by thought,
yeah,
pretty much. So it's not coming from nature. So you one or two steps further removed
mm,
from the life essence, which is,
mm,
is, is why we often struggle in built up environments, cities, and so on. People struggle to really connect with
yeah,
that because it's a very constructed conceptual world coming out of the thinking of the human mind that has constructed everything, right? Everything was an idea and then it's become a building or a pot
mm,
plant or a sofa or a TV or
mm,
and all of it is thought, the projection of human thought, which has got disconnected from its source, from its life essence.
yeah,
Whereas nature is more intuitively, more integrally connected, much closer
yeah,
to the life essence. There's still ego present. I mean, nature can be very brutal,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it doesn't have all of that heavy, dense covering of thought and all the beliefs. A flower is a flower, a deer is
yeah,
a deer. It's not trying to be something else. That
yeah,
things
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
the kind of ridiculous egos that human beings have, where
Yeah, there's a purity in it,
yeah,
like when you look at it, and yeah, it's just
it's much simpler. So it's
yes,
closer to
yeah,
essence, closer to the truth.
yeah,
And so when we spend time in nature, we reconnect
mm,
with that same essence,
yeah,
just without getting attached to it. And
yeah,
that essence that goes with you wherever you go. So whether you're in a
yeah,
city, you go to London, you're sitting indoors in a constructed dwelling, which is all thought. Everything around you has been
mm,
thought up by someone and
yeah,
made into something. So, but you can stay connected to that nevertheless because it's the truth about who you are. going to nature is just another tool. It can be really helpful and useful, to connect with that and give you a little boost from time to time. But wherever you go, that is with you, even in the most dense city environment, even in the worst slums that humanity's come up with, that is still there. It's still present. It's just not as easy to connect with, perceive, but it's still there. It's still available because it's in your own mind. You just can't get caught up in the projections that you see, which are the further away you get from source, the more ugly it gets. We see, you go into some cities and things are, really degraded and slum-like and so on. That's very disconnected from source. And then, if you just look at the form, it can be very depressing. It's like, well, this is just all very shabby. It's a product of a shabby thought system that has now been manifested, and there's no life. There's or very little life. It's all been kind of sucked out of it by the ego. But again, that's quite a good opportunity to awaken. Because you can look at all that and go, okay, I see the shabby world the ego's made, and I don't value it. This is not what I choose. It's not what I want. And so then you can make another choice, like moving to the country and saying, move into a more wholesome, natural environment where the energy's better. You're more connected to that life essence. Why not? You can make that choice. You don't have to live in a toxic environment. And naturally, more spiritually oriented awakening individuals throughout history have tended to do that. They've tended to shy away from crowds and busy cities and have gone into mountains and forests and nature and beaches, and have spent a significant amount of time there because they they find it easier to connect with God. Even Yeshua was recorded several times in the Bible that after preaching to the masses, all of that human contact, and he was in towns and cities, and he would go to the mountains and he'd pray because he'd reconnect there. You needed the solitude and the space away from all that density of human thought. So even he needed to I'll go into it, but then I go out of it and I'll restore my energy and I'll reconnect with my source, and then I can go back into it and teach and preach and do my work, but then withdraw and reconnect. So there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't get attached. Just realize that it's impermanent, and that the form, where people go wrong is they value the form rather than the essence. If you value form, you're valuing an illusion, and that is going to cause suffering. If you value the essence, then forms are going to come and go, right? Nature, if everything's in flux, things are being born, things are dying, they're popping into and out of existence all the time. But the essence that underlies it, the very life essence that gives everything life, doesn't change. Whether you see that in a plant, a flower, a tree, an animal, it's the same life essence that they are then expressing. It's being expressed in the form. And this is the kind of enlightened awareness that all the masters in different spiritual traditions talk about. I see life everywhere. I see God everywhere. In everything. In the flowers, in the trees, in the grass, in the sky, because they connect with that underlying unity principle, that underlying awareness, and they go, it's actually everywhere. Nothing would be without it. It's the foundation. It's the canvas. It's the screen onto which it's all projected, right? So nothing would be there without that awareness, and that is my awareness. And if I see it in others and outside of me, then I strengthen it in myself. And that is the unity consciousness. That's actually the samadhi state. Samadhi means the sameness of everything, the unity of everything. And it wasn't necessarily just a super conscious state where you zone out of the world. It's like, no, I'm walking in this enlightened state in samadhi, and I'm just seeing oneness everywhere. I'm seeing the essence of life everywhere, and it's a beautiful experience. We've, if you've had glimpses of that, which you probably have, it's a wonderful experience. Just nothing wrong with that. That because it's uplifting. It connects you with the very source of life that you are, and it can't, there's nothing wrong with that. Just what the ego will try and do is hijack that and make it into something attached to form.
Yeah. Yeah.
And often people do this with, pets and so on.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I love but I love that pet.
Mm.
It's a special relationship, and so it becomes
Yeah.
about that particular dog, cat, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then of course they suffer because it's very short-lived. The pet doesn't last more than 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And then they mourn, and then they do it all over again, and they get another pet, and they get attached. It's like,
Mm.
oh my goodness, like what are you doing? Like just
Mm.
you can have pets by all means, but don't get attached
And
to
yeah.
don't get
Yeah.
attached to the form of them, because
Yeah.
that's going to be short-lived. But the essence of each pet is the same.
Yeah.
Nothing's really changed. It's just life expressing itself in a
Yeah.
different form. So you can celebrate that. You can, love that and go, well, when its time is done and
Mm.
its form is done, then it's gonna let go of the form,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really die. That life essence will carry on, and it'll
Yeah.
recycle into another form, whether that's a dog or a cat or a human. I
Yeah.
have a theory that I think a lot of dogs become humans, because
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
else are you going to go?
Yeah.
What's a logical next step, isn't it? If you're going to evolve
Yeah.
in awareness, where you're going to go as a dog, if you spend, a couple of lifetimes hanging out with humans, you're
Yeah.
probably going to want to become human in your next life. That would be logical. Of course, we don't know for sure. None of this is provable. But if everything is evolving, so
Mm.
then, okay, the dog dies, but then it's rebirthed into a human body, and it has a new experience.
Mm.
And that's part of its development. So nothing's really been lost. Nothing's really died. Only the form, which had served its purpose. It lived a full life, and eventually it dies. Like, so what's that really to be sad about? And the same with humans.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
really live to the full, and you learn and you grow, and you use that life to grow and learn as much as you can, then when the body's finally done its thing, and you've learned what you can,
Mm.
why are you sad to let it go? It's like a
Yeah.
vehicle you've outgrown. Just drop the
Yeah.
vehicle, and then you carry on. Either go back into perfect essence, pure awareness, or if you need another life, you just come back in another body. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. The mind will just create another body, and you'll
Yeah.
have another life. So the body, like if you have that perspective, it's like not really that sad if someone dies,
Yeah.
because they come back and they'll have another life, and they have another go, and it's all part of the evolution.
Yeah.
We just get attached to the form. We
Yeah.
feel a hole in our existence. Oh,
Yeah.
that form of that person or that animal is no longer there. So
Mm.
we feel sadness. We feel, oh, something's missing, something's lacking.
Yeah.
But that's the illusion. Actually, nothing's lacking, because the essence hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
The essence hasn't died.
Yeah.
It's the same essence that's always been there. It's this universal awareness
Mm.
that's still there. They're just not in form anymore. So that form has gone. But there's many other forms in which you can see the same essence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it gives you a
No, that does. Thank you. No,
sense of
that's really
perspective.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how to perceive nature correctly. If you perceive essence rather than form, then
Yeah.
fine. Just
Yeah.
don't get sucked into perceiving form and valuing that over the essence, because then you're again in separation and in
Yeah.
the ego. And the ego is quite good at hijacking people. They'll let's say you're an avid bird watcher. Too
Mm.
often, just as an example, too often it becomes more about the form than about the life essence.
Mm.
They go, oh, I've got a list. I want to see that particular bird because it's really rare. And I go
Mm.
and I look at the form. Oh, yeah, and it's got, and you're not even seeing the bird. You're not even
Mm.
seeing the very essence of
Yeah.
what the bird is. You're seeing a form, and you're interpreting that through your own narrow ego construct of, oh, that's great. I can now, boast to my birding friends that I've seen that rare bird, and tick it off your bucket list.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't really seen the bird, have you?
No.
You've
Yeah.
missed the essence of the
Yeah.
bird. So for that reason, I've never really gone into the naming of things. Something intuitive is just like, well, why do I need to know the name?
Yeah.
Or, and all this stuff that some people really pride themselves on. Oh, I know the name of all the bird species in the UK or South Africa or wherever, or I've got their bird books, because it's the mind again taking charge.
Yeah.
You're not really seeing the very essence of that bird, because actually that name is mind created. That name isn't not its real name. That's just given by humans.
Yeah.
It's made up. It's language. It's construct. It's illusion. The very essence of the bird, if you can just strip away all that and just be completely present, then you see its essence, and then you go into another level. Then you don't need a bird book, and you don't need language, and you don't need any of that. You can just appreciate it for what it is in that sacred moment.
Yeah.
We can have those moments, in nature where you just completely present, and you're looking at this other sentient being, and it's amazing. You just like, wow. Remember one time I was in a lake in Malawi. Sun was rising and gone for a swim, and there was this kingfisher on a branch. I think it was a kingfisher, but I didn't even know what it was. It was a bird. It was just sitting there with the sun in the background, and it was totally still and quiet. And I just looked at it and was like, a pristine moment, just like perfect connection. And then after about a minute or two, I went, "Oh, I should run back and get a camera and photograph it," because the mind's like, "Oh, I want to capture the moment," but actually, you can't really capture. The photograph is never going to do justice to that moment.
No,
it's just like a perfect still moment, and then the two beings just connecting. It was aware of my presence, just sitting there. I'm still observing it, and it's like, what else do you want? There's pure presence and pure connection in that moment. So nature can do that. It can just stop the mind, and we can go into this completely present moment awareness, which is what we all really yearn for. So it's another way, another spiritual practice, if you like. Spending time in nature can take you into that.
It is actually my key spiritual practice, is spending time in nature.
So fine, use it for that, but also cultivate the ability to get into those states without nature. So you can do it anytime. You can do it in your, in your kitchen. You can do it while you're cooking. You can do it while you're driving. You can do it while you're in London. That's where it really where you want to go. God goes with you wherever you go. So that awareness is with you wherever you go, and it's so strong. You've cultivated such a strong connection and awareness that nothing can shake that. Whatever situation or circumstance you're in, you carry that with you into, which is what this mind training is all about. You take it into the turmoil, into difficult situations, as well as nature. If it's nice, there's nothing particularly challenging about it. You just go, it's lovely. You connect with nature. You really need it in more difficult situations. Take it into your human interaction. Human interaction, incredibly difficult. So potentially difficult, because you've got all these egos to deal with, and speech and concepts, and well-developed egos that are just. I think being a human being is probably the most challenging form you can choose, because of all the the dynamics. We know other animals also have quite complex social structures, but do they have the same complexity as humans with these egos? I don't know. It just seems like, and language, speech. Apparently, the whales and dolphins stuff speak to each other. They have a language, so maybe they're on a similar level of complexity. We don't know, but certainly this is a particularly challenging form, which means that the lessons are there. Big lessons can be learned from your human experience, and I guess you just have to be grateful for that and say, well, I've come here to learn, so I'm in human form, and yes, it's challenging, and yes, human beings can be incredibly difficult, because of the mind and the egos, and they can speak. They can speak, so they talk all the time. It's like, just shut up. Animals are lovely because they don't speak a lot of the time. It's just like quiet presence. It's all non-verbal. But that's our challenge. That's what we came to learn. So may as well just accept it and learn from it. Okay. So a bit of a digression, but all good. That's how we learn. So I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my seeing or perception. Done that one. Then this evolves to the next lesson, which is I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Okay, so I'll read the original, you read the alternative. So I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I'm alone in nothing.
I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in anything.
Everything I think or say or do teaches all the universe.
Everything I think, say, or do teaches everyone.
The Son of God cannot think or speak or act in vain.
An extension of perfect love cannot think, speak, or act in vain.
He cannot be alone in anything.
I cannot be alone in anything.
It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine, for mine is the power of God.
It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine, for I have the power of perfect loving awareness.
And from the top,
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in anything. Everything I think, say, or do teaches everyone. An extension of perfect love cannot think, speak, or act in vain. I cannot be alone in anything. It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine, for I have the power of perfect loving awareness.
okay, thoughts on that?
It's just describing unity.
Hmm. So I'm not alone in my thoughts. My thoughts go into this universal mind and they are experienced. They are connected to everyone and everything else
Yeah.
because there's only one mind, really. One, there's apparently two thought systems, but there's really only one mind or one awareness.
Yeah.
The ego thought system is happening in a seemingly split off section of that awareness, which now seems to be separate from the rest.
Mm.
But that's still, even if you go into that little bubble of thought, the thought system of the ego, it's still just one thing. It's one awareness,
Yeah.
one mind. So you go to the top level here, everything that happens within the ego consciousness is connected. It's coming from one thought system based on separation,
Yeah.
which is false. But so even in the ego, unity is there. Interesting. Even
Yeah.
in the ego, hasn't completely fragmented because
Yeah.
there's still a unity in the separation. It's one
Yeah.
thought system from one idea of separation. Then it's all connected. And
Yeah.
what most people think, many sincere spiritual seekers think that this is God. That's the
Yeah.
mistake they make.
Yeah.
But it's not, because it's not the ultimate awareness.
Yeah.
It's a split off awareness. When you get there and you realize it's not the ultimate awareness and you're willing to see it for what it is and let it go, then
Yeah.
you get to ultimate awareness,
Yeah.
which is then
So the term,
another step.
yeah, the term divinity then, because that's the term that Neil Donald Walsh, for example, uses to
Hmm.
describe God. So that would be, so the term divinity, does that describe the God oneness in the blue circle? Or
Well, it can be used to describe either. I've seen.
yeah,
I mean, I've read
okay,
Neil Donald Walsh's stuff. It was a long time
yeah,
ago. I read
yeah,
his first three, and there
yeah,
are certain dualistic concepts that come into that. If you
yeah,
really, if you really pick it, I mean, mostly coming from unity, but
yeah,
if you really look at it carefully, some of the things he says are dualistic, and then bring you into this domain. Ego consciousness, universal mind. If you read those books again after a year of studying this, it'd be quite
yeah.
interesting.
I know I'd like to actually,
Yeah,
because it has been
because
a while since I've read them as well.
you'll see them differently, and then there's certain things that you go, oh, okay, like I'm not so sure about that because it's coming from the idea that God is dualistic. God created separation. God created the world, God created the universe.
Mm.
And whenever that's going on, there's you're back in thought system separation, you're back in
Yeah.
consciousness or the ego, but
Yeah.
it's very subtle. To understand that, you really need to be really well trained
Mm.
in discerning the difference between truth and illusion. To
Yeah.
really, know this as the one God without opposite in your heart, really
Mm.
connect with that. That's the mind training. So
Mm.
when an idea comes along that denies that, you pick it up instantly. You go, okay, like I see, very subtle, a lot of people wouldn't even notice. But what it's just done very cleverly is it's taken you from there to there by
Yeah.
making this into God, by saying that this mind is supreme, that this created the world, and then it says that this is God or divine or whatever language it uses.
Mm.
So it can get pretty muddy. The waters can get fairly
Mm.
muddy at this top level because the terminology changes depending on who's using it. Some people
Yeah.
say consciousness is God, or universal consciousness. What do they actually mean? Do they mean this consciousness of separation, or do they mean a pure awareness that's beyond separation?
Yeah.
And maybe they're not even sure what they mean.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
really question it and you really dig
Yeah.
into it, they're like, no, well, it's everything. I said, so do you mean everything by like including duality? Well, yes, of course, because that includes everything. But
Yeah.
the course is very clear. It's saying no, duality isn't real. So duality is not part of the all of the whole.
Yeah.
Only oneness is part of that. This is all illusion. So it
Mm.
doesn't really exist.
Mm.
Very, very clear thought system and distinction,
Mm.
which allows you to separate the truth from the illusion. Otherwise, you just get horribly confused.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's, of course, what the ego wants.
Yeah.
It wants you to get horribly confused and remain horribly confused, because if you're horribly confused, you're never going to wake up and you're never going to escape
Mm.
from this belief system.
Mm.
So it promotes the confusion. And, the there's many teachers and teachings that are dualistic by nature.
Mm.
And so that the more you study the course, the more you start being able to discern the difference and go,
Mm.
okay, this is
Yeah.
non-dual. Ah,
Yeah.
no, now we're in duality. Okay,
Mm.
I see the difference, and it's a fundamental difference. It's a very, very important distinction to make. It's not something you can just go, oh well, it doesn't really matter. No,
Yeah.
it absolutely matters, because if you're in separation and duality, then you're in the ego, and this is going to not end well. This is going to be suffering and death,
Yeah.
whichever way you go in that thought system. However you dress it up. I remember in a conversation with one guy, and he'd read the course and he'd studied Advaita and stuff, but he then got into Tantra.
Mm.
And the reason he got into Tantra was obviously because he didn't really want to let go of form. I think he was quite attached to sensation, particularly the sexual aspect of it and so on. And he wanted a teaching that allowed him that. So then he says, well, I'm of the alternative school of non-duality. I said, oh, really? Interesting. The
Mm.
alternative
Mm.
school of non, like, how does
Mm.
that work? No,
Mm.
no, no, no. We believe that actually separation is okay, and that God exists in all things, and that the form, the illusion, and this Brahman, as they call it in Advaita, both are real. And
Mm.
I went, but that's not the alternative school of non-duality. That's duality.
Mm. Mm.
And the conversation kind of ended there because he was like, well, we just obviously don't see eye to eye. And actually, it was interesting. It was a business conversation. We were talking about, possibly working together on a project.
Mm.
And after that conversation, I was like, there's no way I can work with this guy
Mm.
because his mindset is separation. His
Yeah.
his solution to the problem of currency was to have multiple different currencies. Little pockets of separation of this currency and this. I'm like going like, how can that really work? It's
Mm.
separation. Like, no, there needs to be one currency. That's what makes it powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, evidently we're not on the same page then, spiritually and conceptually. So
Mm.
conceptually you can't work together because you differ from the start. My strategy and his strategy couldn't align.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very interesting conversation to have had, because it's like, right,
Yeah.
just it's not going to work. So just say thank you and go your separate ways. Clearly, it would have been a disaster to try and make that ever work. And so, going back to what we talked about, doing due diligence on people, where are
Yeah.
they coming from? That's the question.
Yeah.
Is separation what they believe in,
Yeah.
or are they aligning themselves with oneness?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're perfect,
Yeah.
but there's an intention. It's like, yeah, this is the truth, and I'm working towards this, and I'm an awakening, and yes, I'm on this path of oneness, of unity.
Mm.
Or is separation governing their thought system still?
Yeah.
Because if you know that's the easiest way to make a decision as to whether you want to do business with them, you want to be friends with them, you want to relate to them. If separation is their governing principle, then and unity is yours,
Mm.
you're going to conflict.
Yeah.
There's going to be conflict. It's not going to end well. So you might as well just say, I honor you. It's fine. You can believe whatever you want. There's no hard feelings, but just let's go our separate ways because
Yeah.
they don't reconcile. They never have, and they never will.
Yeah.
Uh, but we don't see that clearly. You see, without this mind training,
Yeah.
we don't have the discernment to see
Yeah.
that. But if you do the mind training and take it to its logical extent, you will be able to see exactly where someone is very quickly.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. The signs
Yeah.
are there just from a conversation with them, from seeing the
Yeah.
way they carry themselves, the way they speak, the way they behave. Spend even an evening with them. You get a fairly good idea
Yeah.
of where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And at the highest level, like say Yeshua, he would know instantly. He just knows, like, I know where you're coming. I know exactly where you are. He
Mm.
doesn't condemn them for that.
Mm.
So they believe in separation. He
Mm.
sees the delusion, doesn't condemn them for that. There's infinite understanding, compassion, but he just understands where they're at. It's very useful in dealing with someone. If you want to help them, then you got to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
If they so resistant that they're not willing to be helped, then as he said to the disciples, just turn away, wipe the dust off your feet and walk away
Yeah.
because you're not welcome. So move on to where you are welcome. Don't try and bring a horse to water. Well, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
So, okay. All good. Happy with that one.
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected. All of our thoughts are connected. Whether you're thinking in separation or whether you're thinking in unity, you're part of a thought system, of a bigger thought system, whether you like it or not. Everything you think is going in to the universal mind,
Yeah.
which again, there's quite a responsibility there. You think, well, like, there are no private thoughts. Everything I think is actually known by the whole mind.
Mm.
So I better really be vigilant in my thoughts. If I'm thinking ugly, attacking, aggressive,
Mm.
hateful thoughts, then that's going in. I'm part of the insanity of the world right now just by thinking those
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
I am the problem then. So
Yeah.
okay, I need to be much more vigilant of my thoughts. So these ideas are meant to get us to think differently about the power of our thoughts and
Yeah.
be much more discerning about those
Yeah.
thoughts,
Yeah.
which is has to happen. You have to start
Mm.
exercising a lot more discipline and vigilance
Yeah.
around your thoughts and then your emotions as a basic starting point in any process of spiritual awakening.
Mm.
All right, so I'm determined to see you. Do you want to read the original or the alternative? I'll leave it up to you.
I'll read the original.
Okay.
So I am determined to see.
I am determined to perceive truly. Okay, so that seeing again is
Yeah.
what he means is perception. He means perceiving truly,
Yeah.
but you could misinterpret it if you're new to the course and go, "I'm determined to see." Okay,
Yeah.
duh. There's a deeper level. So just use the language accordingly. I'm determined to perceive truly. That's what he means
Yeah.
by that. All
Yeah.
right.
Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I am determined to see.
Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I'm determined to perceive truly.
I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed.
I choose to perceive the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed.
I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss.
I choose to behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss.
I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one.
I choose to perceive the real world and let it teach me that my awareness and pure formless awareness of perfect love are the same. And then from the top in the alternative,
Yeah,
when you read that,
that's just Molly barking there.
yeah.
I'm determined to perceive truly. Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I am determined to perceive truly. I choose to perceive the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I choose to behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. I choose to perceive the real world and let it teach me that my awareness and pure formless awareness of perfect love are the same.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, is it all again about choice, choosing to see things?
Mm, mm. Notice the translation in the original. It's I would.
Yeah,
And I've translated that as I choose to.
yeah,
So there's an active choice there. What he's saying by I would is saying yes, I intend to,
yeah,
but I choose to. Makes it
yeah,
very, very explicit. I
yeah,
choose to do this. I choose to behold the proof
yeah,
that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace. Well, there's the talked about abundance earlier. There's the idea of abundance,
yes.
replacing
And also
loss and
the use of the
scarcity.
word determined as well, like it's I am determined to
Yeah,
perceive.
yeah.
Again,
And
that
then there's a number of these.
active verb.
There's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few lessons coming up where
yeah,
he says, I'm determined to perceive truly, or above all else, I want
yeah,
to perceive truly. So what
yeah,
he's trying to do is get us to really commit and say,
yeah,
okay, just like how committed are you? Because above all else, I
mm,
want to perceive truly
yeah,
is quite a commitment. You're saying, yeah,
yeah,
above all else, I want to change my perception. I
yeah,
want to see unity rather than separation. And I
yeah,
may not see that fully now, but that's my intention. That's really what I'm trying to work towards.
yeah,
And I'm determined. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be,
yeah,
many obstacles in the path. The ego comes in and it
mm,
gives you a challenge, and then you're like, well, how can I perceive oneness in this situation? Because it's terrible or awful, or someone's attacking me or hurting me or whatever.
mm,
But if I'm really determined, then I need to dig in, and I need to correct my perception. I need to
yeah,
practice forgiveness above all else, above anything else in the situation. So he's trying to get us to really start committing now. We're 20
mm,
lessons in, saying start committing to this thought system as above all else. I want to do this because I know that this is going to give me everything that I yearn for, everything I feel that's missing and lacking in my life.
yeah,
Is only because I'm perceiving incorrectly. As David Hoffmeister, the well-known course teacher, says, you have a perceptual problem. That's all.
mm,
Everyone's just got a fundamental perceptual problem. You perceive the world incorrectly because you think you're a separate person
yeah,
in a world that's outside of you. So fundamentally, that is flawed perception.
yeah,
You have a fundamental perceptual problem, but that perceptual problem is entrenched in the human condition. Everyone has it. We're born into it.
yeah,
But nevertheless, you have to recognize that this is really our only problem, is a perceptual problem, but it's so deeply entrenched, it's going to
mm,
take a lot of work to
mm,
uncover that and really start changing our mind and correcting our perception,
yeah,
so that it's right way up, because it's upside down, but that's culturally upside down. This is the problem. It happens throughout society. You know, the abnormal, the upside down, seems to be now the normal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is seemingly abnormal in society and often called weird and insane is
Yeah.
actually true. So think of it like you're in
Yeah.
the insane asylum.
Yeah.
Everyone's insane. You're the only sane one. And of
Yeah.
course, everyone in the insane asylum, given that that's the normal in the insane asylum, thinks that the person who's sane is actually insane.
Mm. Mm.
And it seems, that they're right because the, majority rules. Everyone's saying you're insane, whatever. But
Mm.
actually, the truth is that one anomaly, the awakened person in the insane asylum, is actually uh, seeing it truly, perceiving it truly, and
Mm.
everyone else is an illusion.
Mm.
And we've seen that throughout history. These awakened beings, these anomalies, come into their society, and it's like, whoa, like where did you come? Like that's because they stand out. They're extraordinary.
Yeah.
Actually, they're
Yeah.
just sane. They're just woken up. They're not insane,
Yeah.
and they're the sane ones in the insane asylum. But in the insane asylum, it seems like there's something special.
Mm.
When actually they're just telling you to be sane, just like
Yeah.
common sense, just like stop being
Yeah.
insane and smashing your head against a brick wall and hurting yourself. It's like stop that, please.
Yeah.
So actually, spirituality isn't anything, anything like mystic and wonderful and amazing. It's just like common sense. It's like, okay,
Mm.
this is like should be normal awakened awareness should be the default, but in an upside down world, it's not. It's seen as anomalous and extraordinary and divine and
Mm.
mystic, and all these labels get put on it
Mm.
because people don't understand it and they're scared of it, and
Mm.
so they label it in all these ways. But someone like a Yeshua or Buddha just had like very, very down to earth common sense. Just like, okay,
Mm.
I can see what you're doing. Stop doing it. Just like stop
Yeah.
it already. You're smashing your head against the brick wall repeatedly, hoping that the brick wall is going to move or something's going to change. Just
Mm.
stop doing that.
Mm.
Just common sense, like, but not common in the insane asylum, because everyone's insane. So
Yeah.
common
Yeah.
sense is not really very common in the world. It's actually called enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so any other thoughts on that? And notice the idea of abundance. Abundance
Mm.
coming in as equivalent to love.
Yeah.
Enabled love to replace fear, abundance to replace loss, or you could put it scarcity there, abundance to replace the idea of scarcity, because that is so entrenched
Yeah.
in the human experience as well. The idea of scarcity, there's not enough to go around, scarce resources. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the fundamental principle of economics.
Yeah.
Scarce resources. We learn this. I studied economics. It's all based on an illusion. There's the entire thought systems and subjects and then economies and all the laws are based on these false premises. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So are we surprised that then the laws based on scarcity and loss and fear create pain and suffering and sickness and death? We shouldn't be surprised. This is what they do. What else would you expect when you deny love? What else would you expect but this? It's a logical outcome of the denial of love and of true abundance.
Mm.
We just have to kind of wake up and be honest. I think a big requirement in this course is honesty. To
Yeah.
go, okay, like I've really got to be very honest with myself and not fudge it over and
Mm.
and and take these ideas and apply them to my life very honestly. And it's uncomfortable because you'll see that the areas where you do believe them and you are part of this thought system of separation and you do play a part in the insanity of the world. But
Mm.
by seeing it clearly, you can change it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can make a different choice. I can change my mind and I can start to let that go as and when it presents itself. And that's exactly what he's asking us to do
Mm.
through all this mind training. So again, great lessons. And you see how it's all part of a cohesive thought system.
Mm.
One lesson leads to another. You can see very clearly, I see no neutral things. Let's just read them again, just in the key form, just to
Yeah.
kind of summarize it. If you want to do
Yes.
that,
Yeah. So I have no neutral thoughts.
and then connect it to the next idea with an interleading word, if you
Yeah.
can.
So, therefore, I see no neutral things.
Yeah, and you can use the alternatives. It's probably more profound if you do
Yeah.
that.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my perception.
Yeah, and again, you could say, therefore, I can't be alone in experiencing the effects of my perception because these things are true. There's a connection. These are logically consistent. And next one.
I'm determined to see.
No, you skipped out on not alone
Oh,
experiencing.
sorry, I thought I said that one. And I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm determined to perceive this. I'm determined to perceive this truth wherever I go, wherever I am,
Mm,
because I know that that's what's going to give me what I really yearn for, which is peace of mind.
mm,
So he's building a case. It's almost like building a very strong logical argument for this alternative thought system because he knows how invested we are in the other one. So he's got to break that down and
mm,
say, look, here are the reasons why this one is better and
mm,
why choosing this thought system, this operating system is going to be a lot better for you.
mm,
And the entire course is really that training, just to convince you that this is a good idea.
mm,
And it does take the reason why it's so long is because it takes a lot of undoing. There's
mm,
a big investment in the other thought system. So he knows I've got to really unpick this, unpack this, repeat again. He's repeating the
yeah,
same key idea over and over, but in different ways. The genius of it is how do you repeat the same thing over and over for 1,300 pages and people don't get completely mind-numbingly bored?
yeah,
Somehow there's a variation. He's shifting it, he's changing it, different angles, different perspectives, different language, to sort of keep you engaged,
mm,
which he knows is necessary. So different lessons. If you had the same lesson every day, you'd get bored to tears.
mm,
It wouldn't work for longer than a week. You just go, oh my God, I've been doing the same lesson again. He knows we need the variety. So he's like, okay,
yeah,
well, we'll mix it up. We'll give you these different perspectives, different angles on it, so that it can keep your mind engaged and it can just get you to see it from all different perspectives. A diamond, think of a diamond, all the facets. You focus on one facet. That's just a little aspect of the diamond. You can then
mm,
turn it around, look at another area, and say, "Oh, okay, well, that's also amazing." That's
mm,
kind of what he's doing. So eventually, after the whole year, you've read the entire text and all the lessons and the manual for teachers and all the supplements. You start getting a rounded view. You're going, okay, like I see how this whole thought system fits together,
mm,
and how it's actually completely consistent and logical. In fact, it's the only thing that really makes any sense. I can't really make sense of the world if I don't have this is my guide, and the
mm,
ego just becomes ridiculous, and you can't believe that you ever actually believed in it. But the truth is, you did because you didn't know better. You just we get taught that that's the way, and we kind of adopt it. And um, this is saying become much more conscious about what you're thinking and which thought system you're going to believe in. Okay. So how are we doing? It is now nearly 7:45. Do you want to do a meditation and end it at
mm.
say 8? Yeah, say 8:15.
Yeah, that should be fine. It's still
Yeah,
light,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it
Okay,
won't
so we'll go
make
into a
a
meditation. I'll
difference.
give you time to go and do your thing with the animals.
Yeah,
All right, so let's dive in then. Just trying to switch this phone back on. So now I got up to 12%. It just didn't have enough juice to carry on going. Should have made
yeah.
sure it was more charged. Anyway, okay, so let's do a meditation, shall we?
Hmm.
Okay, so just closing your eyes, make sure you're comfortable. Just sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And as usual, start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So you're breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind. And notice any thoughts going on there. Whatever the thoughts are, just apply today's first review lesson to them. Say, I have no neutral thoughts. Breathe into that. Hold the breath briefly as you listen to the short commentary on this key idea. So neutral thoughts, says Yeshua, are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I perceive arises from my thinking errors, so the real world will arise in my perception as I let my errors be corrected. And so if that thought wasn't correct, if it was any kind of negative thought, any difficult thought, causing any kind of pain or suffering, just exhale, blow it out, let it go. Imagine it's just like a dark cloud or black smoke, leaving you, just going, gone. Pull the low stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out, and feel a sense of relief. That you've just let go of another false thought. You're letting your errors be corrected. Because the truth is that your thoughts can only be true or false. They must be one or the other. And what you see or perceive shows you which they are. So what I perceive shows me which they are. Breathe in on that truth. So whatever you're perceiving in the world is showing you the nature of your thoughts. If you're perceiving something that's unpleasant, that's seemingly threatening, that's unhappy, causing unhappiness, then that means that you're thinking in that way. You're perceiving it from an incorrect perspective because you have no neutral thoughts. You're thinking now negatively with the ego that denies the truth. But fortunately, you can also switch it and you can think positive, life-affirming thoughts. You can let go of those negative thoughts and allow the life essence that you are, the true awareness that you are, to inform your thoughts. And then you will have what we call positive thoughts, thoughts of love and peace and joy and gratitude, abundance, connection, thoughts that are inspiring, thoughts that expand you, make you feel happier, more peaceful. So whatever you're perceiving is telling you the quality of your thoughts, and it's telling you that you have no neutral thoughts. Because you have no neutral thoughts, as the second review lesson 17 says, I see no neutral things, or I perceive no neutral things. So again, breathe in, nice deep inhale, belly rise, stomach rise, chest rise. Maximal inhale breath, hold the breath briefly as you listen to these powerful words. So what I perceive witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist, because life is the foundational awareness that makes thought possible. The original says just life is thought, but life is the foundational awareness that makes any thought possible. Just reflect on that as you exhale and say, I choose to perceive the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. Very, very important point. This is just a representation of my own state of mind. Whatever I'm perceiving in the world represents my thoughts. It pictures my thoughts. So that's very helpful. Now you can see your thoughts pictured on the screen that the world presents. So instead of having to try and go inward and figure out what your thoughts are, you can see exactly the quality of your thoughts and exactly where they're coming from by understanding that whatever you're perceiving is just a projection of your thoughts. You're perceiving the world as crazy and insane and hellish and negative, then that's what your thoughts are telling you. Similarly, if you see the world as blessed and loving and kind and compassionate and abundant, then your thoughts are telling you that. So your thought system determines your perception. That's what this is saying. So you perceive no neutral things because your thought system isn't neutral. You are thinking either from the perspective of separation or of oneness, and these are diametrically opposed ideas. They do not agree in any way, shape, or form, ever. So what I perceive witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist, because life is the foundational awareness that makes thought possible. Breathe in on that simple truth. Feel that awareness in your heart. Maybe put one hand in your heart, connect with your heart center. Breathe that in, invite it in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. And say, I choose to perceive the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change. So I also know the world I perceive can change as well, right? The world's a projection of your state of mind. Change your state of mind, you change your world. Quickest way to change the world. It's how we become the change we want to see in the world. Just change your own mind. Of course, says, seek not to change the world, but seek to change your mind about the world. So just let that idea sink in deep into your mind. Breathe into it, embrace it. Such a profound truth. You're not trying to change anything outside of you, just trying to change your mind about the world. And in doing that, you change the world, because the world is perceptual. As we learned yesterday, there is no reality in the absence of observation. Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics says that. So it's a scientific principle. So the world is in your perception. So change your perception, you change your world. How hard is that to do? Actually, not that hard, remarkably easy, because you can change your perception in a moment. Just by choosing to let go of a misperception, you invite a new perception to come in. And when you do that, recognize that I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my perception. So whatever I perceive goes into the universal mind and is actually experienced then by others, because we're all connected in that mind. So he says, if I have no private thoughts, I cannot perceive a private world. Right? The idea of privacy is the idea of separation. So if you have no private, separate thoughts, then how could you perceive a private world? Logically consistent. Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could become the foundation of the world I perceive. So the mind had to accept that, agree to it, believe in it, and that was shared by this one consciousness or mind we call the ego, which then split itself into trillions and trillions of seeming parts and incarnated into forms. But that tiny mad idea of separation was shared by this one mind, this one consciousness we call the ego, before it could become the foundation of the world that you perceive. But then he says, this sharing was a sharing of nothing, because the idea of separation is nothing. It doesn't really exist. It's false. But I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. Okay, so your real thoughts come from the basis of unity. that means that sharing is essential. All of those thoughts are about sharing with everyone and everything, because you are one with everyone and everything. So as my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. So the more I hold to the truth, the more likely I am to awaken the truth in others. And we see that effect. Great spiritual masters, teachers, they've all helped others to awaken to the same thought system as they've awoken to, through their mere presence, through their words, their actions. And that becomes our only function in the world, is to awaken ourselves and help others to awaken. And the world my real thoughts show me will be revealed to all of us. So the world, our real thoughts coming from oneness, the Holy Spirit, it reinterprets the ego entirely and shows you what we call the real world, true reality, which is reality perceived correctly from the principle of oneness rather than the principle of separation. That world my real thoughts show me will be revealed to all of us. So the more you see that world, the more likely it is that other people will see it. You see, great spiritual teachers open people's eyes to their perspective of the world, their perception of the world, and they get them to see the world differently. And that is a change of mind, a transformation, healing, awakening, whatever you want to call it. So breathe in again. And just as you breathe in, invite this fourth review idea into your awareness. It's just, I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my perception, because I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. As Yeshua says, I'm not alone in anything. Everything I think, say, or do teaches everyone. Everything's interconnected. All the great spiritual teachers and teachings have always known this. The interconnectedness of life, the web of life. Everything's connected. What one tiny thought or action affects the whole in ways you can't really understand and conceive of. So saying, the butterfly flaps its wings, and then on the other side of the world, a hurricane starts, to illustrate that. Everything's connected. An extension of perfect love cannot think, speak, or act in vain. So I cannot be alone in anything. It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine via the power of God or perfect loving awareness. So I have the power of perfect loving awareness. Breathe that in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this perfect loving awareness. And finally, as you breathe in again, just remind yourself that I'm determined to see or to perceive truly. Breathe in on that intention, recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts. Say to yourself, I am determined to perceive truly. So it's all connected. Therefore, I need to be really vigilant on my thoughts. If I'm perceiving falsely, and that goes into the one mind, the universal mind, and it affects things. I choose to perceive the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I choose to perceive the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I choose to behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. So just breathe this infinite, eternal, loving awareness, which is also abundance, into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Just breathe it in, embrace it, accept it in. Feel that this is your true reality, and this is really all you want to experience. You only want to experience this. Why would you want loss and suffering, pain and death, when you can have love and truth and laughter and abundance? It's a good question. And it's just a choice. So say, I choose to perceive the real world and let it teach me that my awareness and pure formless awareness of perfect love are the same. The original is, let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one. The will of God is this perfect, pure, formless awareness we call perfect love. So your awareness is really that awareness. Your awareness derives from it. This is your source, which you've never really left. It's still there at the foundation of your mind. You've just forgotten it, covered it over, pretended you're something else, denied this awareness, and believed in an idea of separation and a separate self instead. But now, again, just reiterate your determination to change this. Say, I'm determined to perceive truly, as you breathe in again, and just breathe that determination into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. I'm determined to perceive truly. And just rest in that determination. You've set the intention, you've said it, you've meant it. Know that you've changed your mind fundamentally, not sometime in the future, but right now. So everything from this moment forward is going to be perceived differently because you're determined to do that. And at any point, if you waver in that determination, you can just remind yourself of that determination from this lesson. I'm determined to perceive truly. Determined to perceive every situation truly, irrespective of how difficult it seems and challenging it seems to be. Determined to perceive it truly. And then just rest in this determined feeling. This abundant feeling. Feel what it feels like in your heart, in your mind, in your whole body. Breathe into that feeling. Let the breath carry you deeper and deeper into these powerful feelings. And just allow yourself to experience this determination, the essence of the determination to perceive truly, for a few minutes of deep silence. And if any difficult thoughts come up, challenging thoughts, thoughts based on separation, the ego, just observe them casually and remind yourself that I'm determined to perceive truly because I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I'm not alone experiencing the effects of my perception either. And I really can't perceive any neutral things. And I have no neutral thoughts. My determination activates all these lessons into something that is incredibly powerful. A determination to change my mind. About my mind, about the world I perceive. So breathe this into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. And then just exhale. Have a sense of letting it go, blowing it out. The breeze of your breath. So the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. And you just rest in this abundant state. Feel that love has replaced all fear, laughter has replaced all sorrow and tears, and abundance has replaced loss and scarcity. Just feel into, breathe into that abundance. So abundance is this pure formless awareness of perfect love, that is your true awareness. You are one with that awareness. You share in that awareness. It's your source, it's your foundation, without which you would have no life, no awareness, no being. So just give thanks for that awareness, the abundance of that awareness. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still, and sink into this abundant awareness or life that is who you really are. That is the very essence of you. And just allow yourself to experience this. Really immerse yourself in this feeling for another couple of minutes of deep silence. So just gently coming back now into an awareness of the body, and the breath, the senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises. And the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile, scan your mind. And notice any thoughts going on. And remind yourself that you have no neutral thoughts. And you perceive no neutral things. You're not alone in experiencing the effects of your thoughts or your perception. And because all your thoughts are shared, all your perceptions are shared, you're determined to perceive differently, to perceive truly. So I'm determined to perceive truly in the situation. Exhale. And just use the exhale to blow out any dark thoughts. So on the count of 2, just notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, the sofa, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling with your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a subtle smell in your nose. Notice all these things. I'm just very still, calm, observer state. No investment in what you perceive, just cool, calm, casual perception. Don't give it meaning, don't give it any reality whatsoever. Noticing all these perceptions from this very clear, calm awareness, this loving awareness that you are, the abundance of life, your true awareness that cannot be destroyed, cannot ever be lost, simply is. So just anchor this inner state in. You should be feeling very calm, very peaceful, very relaxed. So notice what that feels like. Breathe into it. So settling into this peaceful abundance. Set the intention to stay here in this state for the rest of the evening and on into the weekend. So it is said, and so it is done. Now on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a moment to look around the room, noticing everything from this very calm, clear, peaceful awareness. Notice how very subtly your perception has shifted. Everything's just got a different quality when you're in this state. The world is calmer, more peaceful. more loving, you feel more whole, more connected. Just notice these feelings. And remind yourself that I'm determined to perceive in this way from this moment onwards. Because I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts or my perception. I perceive no neutral things and I have no neutral thoughts. A little summary of the 5 reviews, which goes nicely together. So anchor the state in, lock into it, and stay there for the rest of the evening. On into the weekend, and I will see you again on Sunday.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. What time are we meeting on Sunday again?
I think let's start at 6. We'll just go straight
Yeah.
into the holotropic or metamorphic. So yeah, 2 to 3 hours we should be done. Should be done by 9 latest. We just do that. Just make sure you've got your space prepared. You've got those tracks downloaded. I did send them last week, but I'll send them again this week on email as well as on Telegram. So put them on to whichever device you're going to use to play the tracks in the background. At the same time, you need to listen to me
Yeah.
speaking. So I'll be on Zoom. So you could use the same device, you could use your computer,
Yeah.
and then you just what I'd suggest is then plug some stereo headphones. You've got those into the computer jack port, and then you can hear my voice and the music going on. Just experiment with make sure you got the music sequentially in some kind of playlist. So the one track then goes automatically to the other, the longer one first and then the shorter one, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the cooldown. They just play automatically. They're not too loud, so you'll be able to hear my voice coming
Yeah.
through. We'll test all of that obviously before we start the session on Sunday. But you can do that prep. And I sent you a document, which I'll send out again tomorrow on just to prepare for it. So there's some
Yeah.
background information, FAQs, questions about what this breathing technique is, what it does, how it works. I'm going to go through all of that and record that. That's going to be a recording of that breathwork technique for my course. So I'm going to go through all of that thoroughly. We'll probably spend half an hour, 45 minutes preparing, and then we'll actually go into the session, and then there'll be a cool down as well, where I could just guide you through integrating it and what you need to do to you can do some drawing and stuff to integrate it. It's typically how holotropic's done. So yeah, all good.
Mm.
Do that prep and just come with an open mind and open heart, because anything
Yeah.
can happen. Have you done anything like this before?
Holotropic breathing? No. No.
Mm. Yeah, so it's takes you into an altered state.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that sort of people started spontaneously doing at the end of quite long sessions where they'd had a hallucinogenic drug like LSD for therapeutic purposes. So Stanislav Grof was a psychiatrist who was doing this in the 60s and 70s, and then they pretty much banned LSD because it was being misused by all the hippies and so on, and so he couldn't carry on that line of research. But what he noticed was very interesting. He said, "But people are breathing spontaneously in this way, and maybe that breathing can then replicate the state."
Yeah.
So that's where holotropic breathing was born out of, and it did. So it started to give the same kinds of effects, but then you didn't have the side effects of a drug, which can be very problematic.
Yeah.
I've spoken to people who've done LSD and they just like it was horrific. It was terrible
Mm.
because once you're in the trip, you're in the trip. It's got to wear off. You
Yeah.
want to get out and you can't. Your perception is going to be distorted for 24 hours,
Yeah.
however long it takes. Whereas with the breathing, you go into an altered state, but it's very controlled. If you stop the breathing, very quickly your system will normalize. All of that altered state will will start fading away, and very quickly you return to normal. So it's much safer. But you can get the same kinds of altered states, which can be very helpful for healing. You can go deeper into your mind. Think of it as like a deep dive into your subconscious mind, and the process takes you there quite quickly in 45 minutes. You can go deeply into your subconscious mind. That might mean trauma comes out. It might mean profound states of peace and joy and bliss. All of those are possible, and sometimes both.
Yeah.
People can have, an experience that's very difficult, and then at the end of it, they just find, a tremendous sense of peace. Anything can happen. So it's a very interesting process, and it's kind of the taking you into an altered state systematically through a process at the end of the course to give you a little taste of what that is and what it means. So a nice sort of ending to it, even though we're doing it 3 weeks after the course finished. But nevertheless, we get there in the end, and then the course will be officially completed, and I can then get your feedback and we move on. Okay.
Yeah. No, great.
So I'll see you
and
at.
we'll be okay because I need to shut the chickens away again on the Sunday night, Jonathan, about 8:30. So will that be?
Yeah, we
Will
should be
there be a
finished by
natural
then.
break?
Well, we should be finished. Yeah, we should be kind of
Okay,
finishing
great.
by then. We'll have done the process. That takes about an hour, so hour preparation, 7 to 8, and then it's the cool down, which half an hour. There's time for chatting and so on. So by 8:30, we should be
Yeah.
finished done. So you can do your share first, and then if you need to go, you just go and do the chickens.
Yeah.
But we should be finishing off then.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. See you then. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. Yeah. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah. See you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I'll see if I can get that recording for you of our coaching session. There'll be a way of getting the transcript.
Yeah. Perfect. No, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Namaste.
Yeah. Namaste.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
All right. So that is a wrap for today. Thank you for joining the session. If you caught that on the live stream or the recording, and why not subscribe to the channel? I do this frequently, a couple of times a week at least, so you'll be notified by YouTube whenever I go live. You can join the live stream, or you can watch the recording at your leisure. If you want to take a deeper dive, go to lifebuild.com. You can see that in the background. Just type in lifebuild and .com in your browser, or there's a link in the comments box below where you can click that. Head over to lifebuild.com and you can sign up there to receive a Telegram message every day from me, which will have a daily inspirational quote, usually some commentary on it, kind of blog post, some own thoughts and comments on it, sometimes related quotes and other mind training material, including a daily lesson from A Course in Miracles, which is related to the quote, a breath break or mini meditation to help you practice it, as well as invitations to these live sessions on Zoom. So you can join these live sessions completely free for 3 weeks. Give it a go and see if it works for you. So head over to lifebuild.com if that inspires you. Just put in your mobile number. You'll need to have Telegram connected to that mobile number and installed on your mobile device. So hope you'll do that. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Maybe I'll catch you on the inside of one of these sessions soon. And all that's left for me to do is wish you a very happy, peaceful evening and weekend ahead. Namaste, which means the divine, the true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same divine true self in you.